know what you were probably thinking, especially for the people that watches this vlog. Where have you been? Well, life stuff. Just some life stuff. There were some things that didn't got me hooked these couple of weeks when it's about movies. But well, here I am, a little bit back with it with oh my god, what movie I just saw. Funny thing. What was it 2 weeks ago? The biggest movie 2 weeks ago. You know what? It doesn't. I don't quite remember what it was, but it didn't interest me enough to have to go and to get in a hurry to watch. This week, I know there was the biggest movie that I was promoting was none other than what was it? Transformers 1. But here's the thing, I am still in the middle of my boycott of Hasbro. Not gonna tell you why, but honestly, no. Also, the trailer Transformer 1 looks too silly. Even though I've been hearing people that is pretty good, and is better than the Michael Bay one. But still, that trailer didn't do any favors. There was indeed a movie that I was interested to watch, and that movie is Never Let Go. The one with, what was it? I think it was Naomi. No, that was Naomi Watts. I think, yeah, maybe she was. Yeah, the Never Let Go movie in which I saw the trailer for the first time when I went to see Afraid, and it got me hooked. But then came the movie that I watched today. And that is because I've been hearing a lot of good stuff about this movie. And that movie is none other than The Substance. Funny thing, today I was supposed to have an eye exam. And they even warned me that my eye was going to be delayed for like 3 hours or so. But unfortunately, or sometimes fortunately, depending on how you see it, the appointment was canceled because the doctor got sick, so we had to postpone it. So it gave me the whole free day, and in ways I wanted to watch Never Let Go, but in my head it was like, you know what? A lot of people were talking about The Substance. I haven't seen the trailer. And I was like, you know what? Let's go blind. Let's go watch The Substance and see if this movie is as good as many people says. I sat through there. The movie lasts 2 hours, 20 minutes, so as long as, you know, as the movie gets. The movie ended. Wow. This is one of those occasions in which you gotta believe what people say. That movie was wow. It was really good. That was a really good one. Definitely one of the best movies I have seen this year. In the sense that it's probably also one of the best horror movies I have seen this year. And considering that I'm still waiting next month for Terrifier 3 and Smile 2. Although one of those art house horror movies is also good enough. So, and I am glad that I went to this movie blind. I went because if I had seen the trailer, I might have some kind of expectation out of it. You know what? Even right now, I haven't seen the trailer. When I finish recording this, I'm gonna watch it and see if the trailer makes justice. But man, that was pretty good. it's kind of like a monkey's paw Aesop Fable, a cautionary tale about the state of Hollywood marketing, but at the same time a cautionary tale about vanity, where your vanity can take you if you go to extreme lengths, and add some body horror in the style of David Cronenberg, and you get a real thrilling movie that it really pays off. This is the best I can describe about this movie without saying too much about the plot. And you know what? Let's jump to it. Because what this movie is about. The movie stars Demi Moore. She plays this actress from Hollywood. She even gets a star on the Walk of Fame. The actress name is Elizabeth Sparkle, and she's basically an actress who over the years she finally turns 50, and then she still works kind of like a celebrity doing aerobics until she hears the TV network executive, which is played by Dennis Quaid. She hears him, and then she gets the consequences in which he says, well, you're 50. You're old. We don't need you. You're fired. This depresses the hell out of her because she begins to think, oh my God, now I'm old and ugly and all this stuff. And then because of that, her depression, she gets involved in a car accident, goes to a doctor, and then one of the nurses, it goes like, you know what? I think you're a perfect candidate. And he gives her a secret information, and basically she gets the information to get involved on a mysterious black market known as the Substance, which basically it is a black market in which it gives her some kind of substance, like the title, in which it lets her clone herself into a better version of herself, so she can fulfill all the things that she can keep on doing while she is young. They gave her kind of like the instructions. They gave her a really strict rules, in which basically she just has to inject herself this substance which kind of looks like Ecto Kool-Aid. And what basically it does is that her body kind of turns into almost like a cocoon of a butterfly, in which from her back it comes up kind of like a younger version of herself. The younger version of herself is played by Margaret Qualley, and well, she just as a young now that she's kind of like young, she can continue doing her acting career as a young entrepreneur. Little did they know, you have to follow the rules exactly as they say, because there are consequences. There are consequences. The biggest one is that there is the strict rule that they have to switch bodies. They have to switch rules every 7 days. Every week, one of them can go out. Then he has to come back and get into the old body for the other 7 days and all this stuff. And of course, if you break the rules, well, you're gonna have to watch a little bit more about the movie, because, well, predictably, that happens because, well, that is part of the plot. That is part of the Aesop Fable that you get into it. And yeah, this is technically the monkey's paw cautionary tale that you get in that kind of movie. And I gotta say that Well, as basic and cautionary and Aesop the tale is, it's really good. You keep yourself on the edge of your seat, wondering and looking at how these two characters how can I say, they try to work together, but then their ego takes over. And the movie doesn't give you too much answer by explaining, for example, if these two entities, they're either the same or one is or there are two separates, only that one take over the other. It kind of leaves you a little bit into their interpretation, but the movie always reminds you that there is this slogan in which it says, "Remember, there's only one." There's only one. It's almost sound like Highlander, right? You can see there can be only one. But the movie has this slogan: "Remember, there's only one." And this whole movie goes deeper and deeper into the rabbit hole. And there are points in which you will say that, okay, this is where the movie should end, but it doesn't. It keeps going and going, but it does. But honestly, that might sound like it might take you off, but luckily the movie has ways to pay off the pacing. And I gotta say, this kind of like works. Let's talk a little bit about the character in itself. Like for example, we gotta give credit to Demi Moore. She was really good on her role. And honestly, for a character like her, in which she's kind of worried about her body, and which it doesn't wow the other people. I don't know. Maybe more even at her age, she's still pretty. Of course, and for her age, of course, she's pretty. Oh my God, what am I saying? But you understand the character. The character it have kind of like this ego, and she kind of loses her confidence and her love to her own body to the point that she just wants to find a way to make a better name for herself, and she finds this solution where for the black market perspective, it basically makes a clone out of her, a younger version, in which technically takes her place with that character played by Margaret Qualley. And of course, she goes all around saying that, hey, my name is Sue. My name is Sue, and she goes to the same network executive played by Dennis Quaid in order to get that. And in a way, in terms of you could say that Dennis Moore and Margaret Qualley is basically the same character. It's just that one is a younger version and the other one is the normal version. But still, both Demi Moore and Margaret Qualley, they are fantastic on their roles. And honestly, they did a good job with the makeup. Even though those two, they are not alike, they did manage to. They did. How can I say? They did get out of the way to kind of look a little bit similar. Similar. And the term of the character herself, I will say that the movie does a better job to make this character, for lack of better terms, half sympathetic. You don't sympathize with this character because she made a stupid decision. She's a character that she gets corrupted by her own vanity, and her vanity and her ego becomes her downfall. But in a way, you sympathize with her because this is a character who got into this deep hole mostly because of the perception of the people around her, which this kind of gets me a little bit in which, if there's something to nitpick about this movie, is that the people surrounding her, they're full of jerks. She lives in a world where a lot of the people are jerks. This is where I come with the role of Dennis Quaid. Dennis Quaid he played this TV executive, and boy, that he's an asshole. He is a cartoon asshole. I mean, you can tell he's an asshole when the first couple of scenes, the movie kind of gets away by him kind of getting his mugshot of him doing disgusting things. For example, the first scene where he's in, you see him go to the bathroom, and then he gets over to the camera, going like, I'm talking to the phone like this, like that, and while he is peeing on the urinal, and he says some of the most misogynistic stuff you could have ever seen. And then the next scene where he brings the news to Demi Moore, you're gonna see close-ups of Dennis Quaid sloppily eating shrimps, and the movie goes out of the way to see the close-up of the. And by the way, this is not the only moment where this movie. I should have said this sooner. This movie, it'll make you lose your appetite. Before you watch this movie, don't eat anything. Don't get your stomach full. Starve to death in this movie, because this movie is gonna make you lose your appetite. I am warning you about that. And back to Dennis Quaid. When he meets the Margaret Qualley character, you see him how much it's kind of like this TV executive asshole who's like, oh, I just love this woman who was younger and all this stuff. And he's kind of like this cartoonish, slimy asshole in which this is the kind of TV networking in which, my God. But you know what? Dennis Quaid is not the only one who is technically a jerk. Almost everybody, mostly men, they're kind of like these jerks. They're kind of like these horny jerks that I think that this is kind of like exaggerated. I know that it's kind of like cartoonish, but you kind of begin to understand why Elizabeth Sparkle kind of gets into this rabbit hole, and where everybody is a jerk. Probably the only, the Elizabeth Sparkle character is kind of also has her jerk moments, but she you can understand her because that's kind of part of the movie. Probably the only quote unquote angel in this movie is this old fan, in which he only appears kind of like two times in the movie. Actually, he appears only once, and then you only see him talking off screen. But he is the only character who actually sees some beauty on Demi Moore. And while he's a little bit, awkward, but he's kind of like the only guy you actually feel legit sorry for him, because he's actually the only one who actually sees the good on Demi Moore in a world where everybody is just they just care more about how you look more than anything. And of course, there's also the jerkish casting department, the jerk of a neighbor who for some reason he kind of looks like a young Seth Green for some reason, at least in my eyes. But man, that's kind of like this movie. Okay, I think I talked too much about about the characters. Let's talk about the cinematography, because it is really competently shot. There are some camera work where you can see that there's some inspiration from Kubrick, Cronenberg. There's some kind of like camera shots. Sometimes you see, how can I say, long shots of big rooms, and yeah, you get the feeling that it does have the Stanley Kubrick style cinematography, it doesn't bother me. I like that when people they adapt these kind of art and they do it and they do it appropriately. They do it. Sorry for this abrupt cut in the middle of the video, but while we're talking, I just live a small nitpick that I have with the movie. It doesn't affect the movie overall, of course, but I just wanted to address a little bit that there is something that bugs me a little bit. Is that I know that I know that our protagonist is rich and all, but man, she has a very big apartment. Her apartment is really really big. I mean, I know that they could afford something like that, but never in my life I can imagine someone having a bathroom that gigantic. For one person, this bathroom is so big that there's even enough room to create a secret room. But honestly, that just nitpick. It doesn't affect anything. I'm just still mesmerized on how big that bathroom is. I mean, I get it. It's probably for the sake of the, giving the movie some space, but I don't know. I think I forgot to. No. This is. I'll get to that when I'm talking about the substance itself. But I'll continue on because, like I said, it has a good cinematography in this department. Also, there is good usage of practical effects for the most, let's say, the body horror part, and it gets wackier and wackier, and this movie is unforgiving. You're gonna see body horror that is gonna make you sick. There's even a moment in which it involves food, and you know what? The parts of the body horror are so gross that I was sitting next to a guy, and twice on the movie, he just got up. And it took like 2 minutes for him to return. I get the feeling that he just got up and he just to barf. But yeah, there is an aspect of that, and it gets even bigger, especially during the climax. I won't dare you to tell you about the climax, but the climax is so out of its mind and so insane that it's nightmarish. It is a nightmarish sight, and it's so gross. The more I think about it, yeah, it leads onto that, and honestly, I'm glad they didn't do it kind of like the horror just for the sake of horror. Like I said, it just do it for the benefit of the movie, again, like a cautionary tale about having a character, that is out of its prime, and then she decides that in order to relieve that youth, creates kind of like a better version of herself. And this is where I'm gonna talk a little bit about the substance itself. Like I said, the substance is kind of like a syringe with a substance that looks like ectocooler, and they have kind of like a strict policy that is kind of like a clone. It's kind of like a cloning machine in which the body that comes out of your that comes out of your kind of like your body, again, almost like a butterfly leaving its cocoon, is it stays like that, kind of like for it stays like that, and the old body, it stays motionless like that, and with the open body, and that you yourself have to stitch it, and it gives some how can I say, food supplements in which it's gonna be refilled every week on kind of in this black market kind of situation. But of course, there is the strict rule that every week they must switch places, because of course then comes the consequences. One of the cool things about this movie is that we don't know much about the provider of the substance. They only show you that it's someone mysterious. It's almost like the devil itself come up with something like that, and just give you kind of like the biggest wish fulfillment that you could ever get. But of course, there's always a price, or you must follow the instructions, or else you're gonna get the consequences. Now that I think about it, and now I'm thinking that this is basically if you're watching an episode and maybe the whole thing is provided by the Laughing Salesman. For those who doesn't know, the Laughing Salesman it was an anthology, a cartoon anthology from Japan, made from the creator of Doraemon, which basically is about this mysterious guy who goes around looking for customers in which they need something on their heart, and they feel their hole in their heart. They want to feel fulfilled. He just finds them and gives them some artifact or some service, but they must follow a strict rule. But usually these people, they break the rules, and then they have to come up with the consequences. It's almost akin to a Twilight Zone episode, I will say, and this is what that makes the movie fascinating, and I'm beginning to like it. The mystery about where it comes from, and you know what? You don't need to get all the answers, because that's the beauty of keeping the whole thing mysterious. And it works. They just kind of like break the rules. You only see that it is a very shady business in which they have the strict rules. You don't know where it comes from, and there you go. And of course, it doesn't exactly showcase that it's mostly at fault of the company. The one that is mostly at fault is the Demi Moore character herself, and of course the Margaret Qualley character too. Both characters, because I like also that the movie kind of leaves you on your imagination about how some things kind of like work, in which I've seen some people kind of go saying that this might come off a little bit of a plot hole about how the things work and why would you do that. But at least on my interpretation, the movie actually even tells you. The movie tells you with this catchphrase, remember, there's only one. So in ways you could either interpret it that these characters, it's actually one character. It's just that her subconscious comes up into the new version, and then kind of like thinks that the old version can't do anything and all this stuff during all this whole week and all this stuff, and then these two characters, they don't want to acknowledge that they're one and the same, and they think that they're kind of like different, and they're kind of juggle, and they get kind of like desperate because, well, one of them doesn't want to go back to the old body, and then when she switches, of course, if you don't strictly go back after 7 days, you're gonna pay with the consequences very dearly. And the other one, of course, she gets kind of like the consequence of being jealous. But still, when the provider on the phone, it will say, hey, it's not my fault. I told you, you're still only one. It's still you. So it's still you. So although the movie doesn't exactly say that is this one person or it's actually two person, but it leaves you to your imagination to that. And this kind of course, this emphasizes a little bit more on the psychological horror that this movie already have, especially when it comes with the body horror. But overall, I think I gotta stop right now. But because, man, I highly recommend you this movie. If you haven't seen it and you love horror movies, this is great. This movie needs a lot of attention. So really, check it out. And remember, be yourself, because there can be only one. And there's only one.